So to start off, couldn't introduce a better man. I met Phil Gibbs probably about 5 years ago now at a Shah Wasamand boot camp. So if you know Shah Wasamand, you know her high energy, sense of adventure. And Phil came across as very grounded, very his intuition and his essence of what he was doing. It was like, well, that's common sense, but nobody's doing it. Oh my goodness, how did I not see that? So to invite him along to share what he knows for our community and our guests, it made perfect sense to me. And then I saw him holding that book, Collaborate and Launch. Hello, we need you here. So in his words, he's a marketing geek, a motorsport nut, sales nerd, conversion junkie, and a golf demon. So I'm going to pass straight over to Phil.
Hey, Jill, and welcome everybody. It's an absolute pleasure to be here, and thank you so much for the invitation in the first place and those very kind warm words of welcome as well. Delighted to be here, and I guess share a little bit about my story with you, and hopefully that will inspire you a little, give you maybe some new ideas around things that you can do in and around your life and your business, and to help you achieve your goals. So I believe I've got like 20 minutes or so, Jill, just to go straight in. So my background, whilst I love marketing, just to pick on what Jill was talking about, over the years of being around several businesses and being fortunate enough to scale and exit a couple of businesses, I guess what I've really learned is that when we talk about capital in business, most people think about the monetary element of that, the cash. But actually what I've learned to focus on is the relationship capital that we build up in our business. Because actually, if we focus on the relationship capital that we're building in and around our business, and this goes for our life too, then actually we never really need to worry about the monetary capital, because the relationships, what I've found is, will always feed into that space. And I'll just give you a little quick bit of backstory and then get into what I wanted to share with you today. So initially, I started as an apprenticeship, engineering apprenticeship with Land Rover and Jaguar and Aston Martin. I loved my cars. I am a motorsport nuts, as Jill said. And that was a dream job for many years. And then I got to like 28, 29. I was one of the youngest managers in the organization, but I just was not feeling fulfilled. And I just knew that I wanted to do more than be part of a corporate wheel. And I played golf from a very, very young age. And I was fortunate enough through relationships to get the opportunity to go and run a golf and country club. I played golf to a pretty good level. And whilst it was a big divergence from my engineering background to actually going and running a golf and country club, and whilst that was my hobby and I knew the game inside out, back to front, hadn't really got any experience in that area. But through relationships, I knew the four guys that had built a golf club in the early 90s. And they had a very clear vision that they wanted to grow this golf and country club, and they wanted to sell it. And they wanted to do that in about a 3 or 4 year window. And being a mad keen golfer and having played to a really good level for many years, I was like, well, look, I know all the project management side that I learned from being in my engineering role. I said, if you'll support me on the business side, the side that at that point I had very little understanding of, to be totally honest, then I'm all up for it. I can definitely project manage our way through building a team, which I'd done, and basically mapping out where we wanted to move the business over a period of time. And cut a long story short, inside 3.5 years, we had quadrupled the size of the business. We'd brought in multiple revenue streams that weren't there before, and we sold the business in just over 4 years from when I started. From 2004, when I started, we sold in March 2009. And that, I say, is my university in business. You know, I didn't go to a university, but over those 4 years, I practically experienced just about anything that you could face in business, from a business that ran, you know, the leisure industry. Anybody work in the leisure industry, they will know that the leisure market works, you know, 364, maybe even 365 days a year, 16 to 18 hours a day. It's at its busiest just when you want to be at your quietest. It's a very interesting dynamic to be involved in a business that serves that kind of marketplace. And one of the things, as I got into the business role there, one of the things that was kind of like glaringly obvious to me that they'd not really exploited was, at the time when I took over, the golf club had 800 members between its golfing environment and some social members and that kind of stuff. They had 800 members, and they were looking how they could grow and scale. And for me, it felt like it was the obvious thing to suggest, but, you know, sometimes we can't see the wood from the trees. You know, sometimes it takes somebody from the outside to come in and point out what might be, what otherwise might be obvious to us. And I said, well, why don't we ask the 800 members if they know of anybody else who they think might be interested in coming along? And, you know, at the time, we'd got our golf, but we were developing a conference center. We'd built a bar and restaurant, a really nice bar and restaurant. It was in the Cotswolds in England. For those of you who know, it was a beautiful setting up on a hill, beautiful views, lovely place to get married, lovely place to come and dine and eat. And we were gradually expanding the ways that the business could make revenue. And with that, we reached out to our 800 strong members and we said, do you know of anybody who would like to join as a member, start playing golf? Do you know of anybody that's getting married? Do you know of anybody that's having any events, any christenings, any parties, work anniversaries, anything like that, that we could ultimately serve via the bar, the restaurant, the conference facility, etc., etc. And that single tactic over 2 years doubled the business with absolutely zero marketing spend at all, just purely from using the power of the people that bought from us already, that knew us, that loved what we did, and that had the confidence then to share that with other people. And that then got me thinking, well, this is cool. And that's a good step, right? I like, you know, it was a big difference in the business over a relatively short period of time. I was thinking, well, that's cool, but what about the people that might have more influence over groups of people that could come and spend money with us? Now, in this day now, I'm talking about 2006, 2007. And at that time, influencers were not a thing. In fact, Instagram and all the social planners didn't even exist, right? But I was thinking, well, what about the people that might do corporate golf days? And there are golf pros that make businesses out of bringing corporate golf days together, 40 or 50 golfers at a single time. And so I started to reach out to some of these golf pros that would put on these days. And lo and behold, some of them started to say yes. And then we had these groups of 50, 60, sometimes even up to 120 people coming to the facilities for a single day. And I'd reach them through one person, okay? What we now think of as more influential marketing. How do we get referrals? How do we get business en masse through effectively word of mouth and recommendations? And so all we did for the remaining 2 years that I was in that business is really just peddle those two areas. We kept on asking the people that loved us if they knew of anybody else that wanted to come and work with us and use our facilities. And equally, we kept on growing this body of people that we knew had influence over our ideal customers. And those two tactics replaced all the other marketing that the business did. And that was the combination that really took it from a business that was doing just over $1 million to a business that was doing nearly 5 million at the time when we exited. And that was that really started to reinforce to me that when we focus on business, I think far too many people focus on the sale, whereas all I've learned to do is just focus on the relationship, and the strategic relationships, the people that can give me access to an audience that I otherwise can't really get access to, certainly with the same level of trust as if I build a relationship with the individual that can introduce me. And that was really my sort of foundation. And then as I got into, once we'd sold the golf club and I worked out what I wanted to do next, this was what I started to start to mentor and coach on, all around how you use referral relationships to grow and scale businesses and reach audiences that otherwise would cost you a fortune through advertising, that you'd never do it yourself, and you still can't do it with the same amount of trust that you can when you're using partnerships and collaborations and relationships. But then what I started to discover is that, and this is what I want you guys to think about, is that most businesses aren't very easy to refer. And so I'd like you to have a think about how easy you are to refer. Okay, now, having done this now, I've been coaching and mentoring this since 2009. So I'd like to think that I've made an impact in this space, but equally, it still fascinates me every day when we do this, how many businesses don't actually really have any mechanism in place to make them easy to refer. So let me give you an example of typically what we help our students and clients do. Is typically we'd look at the business and work out some way, some mechanism that we can create a marketing tool that our referral partners can recommend and refer to people that they think might be a really good fit for the products or services that we offer. The trick here is to make sure that that marketing asset that we create at the front end is 100% value add and 0 sell. It must be 100% value add and it must not sell a thing. And the reason for that is that most businesses restrict the volume of referrals they can receive because the referral coming in is far too close to being approached by a sale. And when people feel that if they refer somebody to a business, they're very quickly going to be sold to, then they tend to hold back and they'll think twice about referring that business. Whereas when you've got a mechanism, a marketing asset in place, we call it, in my world, we call it the really easy referral. Yeah. When we've created this really easy referral, which for example might be a quiz, okay, a quiz that takes 5 minutes to complete, and at the end of the quiz, it gives the output is a personalized report on the next steps that person could take, then that is 100% value add and 0 sell. And as a result, when you put that type of marketing asset at the front end of your business, you create something that makes you referable, because it's nothing towards having a sale or a conversation or anything like that. Does that make sense? Cool. I can see a few people nodding. Right. Excellent. Okay. So what I'd love you to think about then is how referable are you right now? And do you have any marketing assets, any lead magnets, anything that you might be able to slightly redesign a little bit at the front end to ensure that actually people that could refer you can actually just share this asset? And of course, by sharing that asset, you're going to capture that individual's data. And then, of course, you can look at nurturing that person that's come into your world across to the point where they might want to raise their hand and say, I'd love to chat to you in more details about your products or service. Now, for those of you that might have a service business, this is relatively easy to pull together. If you've got a product-based business, the best way to go with this is like product review guides or comparison charts, because that's still really useful information. If I'm thinking of buying a digital camera, yeah, and you are the camera shop, it's still really useful for me to be able to talk to my mate, and my mate says, if you're thinking of getting this digital camera, Phil, you want to pop over here, download this guide. It looks at what price point you're thinking of spending, and it gives you a review of some of the top cameras that you might want to consider. Yeah, so if you've got a product-based business, this can still work for you just as well as it can for service-based businesses. So my tip to you is to think about how easy you are to refer, and think about the assets that you've got around your business and how you might be able to pull something together at the front end of your business, and then empower your referral partners to think about how they can share that with people that would be a great fit for your business, but they're sharing it in a value add way that has nothing to do with a sale. The sale is all to do with you nurturing those leads that have come into your business and nurturing them through to the point where they raise their hand and they say that they're ready to chat to you about understanding how to go further. How am I doing for time, Jill? Because I've not looked at that at all. Cool, 5 minutes. Right, so once you've done that front end bit, let's unpack one final step with you. Once you've done that front end bit and you've got those referrals coming in, or you've got the assets that your referral partners can use, I want you to think about these two individual groups of partners that I talked about in my golf club example, because every business has two groups of partners. You have your individual partners, the people that they might have a network around them, and they have the ability to bring you referrals, occasionally 1 or 2 at a time. Okay, those are our individual referral partners. Then we have our next group. The individual referral partners in my golf example were my members. Okay, equally, they could be your current customers. They don't have to be your current customers, but they could be your current customers, or people that know what you do, and they have a network, but they don't have what the influencers have. And the influencers have a community, a group of people that look to them for guidance, expert advice, opinion, wisdom, insights. That's the difference between the individual partner and the influential partner. The influential partner has that community that around them that they can influence en masse. So those in my golf club example were my golf pros. These were the people that could bring me 60, 100, 150 golfers all at once just by talking to one person. So have a think about the groups of individual partners that you might have around you, your customers, your network, the people that you know already. Yeah. And think about how you could use that marketing asset that you create and how you could announce that you've created this marketing asset to your individual partners. Everybody that's on this call, literally everyone that's on this call, could roll out that program within a week or 2. The influential partners takes a little bit more work, and it does depend upon the niche that you're in. But I'm sure all of you, taking my golf club example, can think of people that have the ear of your market en masse. And how could you create some connections with people like that, and purely on the value add basis that I have this marketing asset, I have this quiz, this assessment, whatever it might be. I have this front-end marketing asset. If you think that you know of anybody that you think this would be a great fit for, I'd love for you to share it in your community. And that's all we're asking them to do. We might even support that by doing something a bit like we're doing here today, in that if they have a Facebook group, or they can get people onto a Zoom call like we're doing here, then why don't we pop in And instead of just giving them the lead magnet, why don't we pop in and do a little 15-20 minute share around the information that's contained in that marketing asset, with a view to then picking up the people en masse that have attended, those that raise their hand that think this would be a great fit. And that's a super quick and easy way for all of you to start looking at how you could pick up more referrals one-to-one, and how you could start to collaborate with some influential partners en masse to bring referrals and a predictable flow of referrals into your business. I hope that that's given you some insights and some thoughts, and maybe sparked some ideas around a different way that you could market and reach out to your ideal people.
Beautiful, Phil. Thank you very much. That's a really good food for thought. I love it. Absolutely love it.